All right, good evening, Coach Slack here. Just going to try to give a quick tour of the garden here. I always try to get my gardens in uh, before the last week of May here in Southwest PA. I've tried to sneak them in first, second weeks of May before, but I've got caught with late frost a couple times, and it's just so disheartening. You know, you lose a percentage of your plants, and then other ones get hurt, and you don't know whether to scrap them or start over. It's just always more trouble than it's worth to try to start too early. So anyway, as soon as you come in here, I have my cucumbers. I have about a dozen or so. I build this fence up just with some T stakes. I'll drive in a few of those and then zip tie just fencing together to create about a 6.5 foot trellis, and it'll fill. This thing will be covered with cucumber vines. I put it right by the door so my nieces, my son, their friends can come in, eat right off the vine. No chemicals at all in this garden. No fertilizer, nothing. Just grass clippings, water, and that's it. So cucumbers, as soon as you come in, this whole trellis, like I said, will be covered, completely covered. The garden itself is about 25 by 50. So I try to learn a little bit recently about companion gardening. I'm not an expert by any means, but I've been trying to learn. So next to the cucumber, I have some dill and a couple parsleys here. See, a lot of times things that cook together actually grow well together. So then I started getting into my bell peppers. We're really heavy on bell peppers here. I love to always try by October to have memorial luncheon at the church in honor of my wife's grandfather and grandmother, where we'll do a whole luncheon with bell peppers. Some years I'm successful, some not, on growing them ourselves. So a lot of bell peppers through there. A handful of corn my wife started for us, so we're going to put that in this year. I put it in every now and again. On the back row, got some zucchini. Keep those in the back, the furthest away from the gate, so people don't trample them. They can get pretty large and take up a lot of space and can be sensitive to people stepping on them. So I put them towards the back. So the corn, the zucchini, and the green beans. So I just put in a couple more tea stakes in the back, some fencing. This one about 4.5 feet high, and I'll put, maybe about 9 green bean plants in. And then as they start to die off, I'll just pull them out and put another seed, because green beans you can start over and over and over again. So, and I'm putting that through this fabric to try to cut down. It's one of my frustrating things I have with green beans is the weeds that grow up with it. So I'm trying really hard this year with this fabric to cut down on that, curtail that. So the Native Americans in this area used to grow zucchini, corn, and green beans together also. But they would put them on a mound. They called them Three Sisters. And at the top of the mound, they would put the corn. Part way down, they would put the green beans. And then at the very bottom, they would put the zucchini. And the zucchini would, cover the ground and stay low, but prevent the weeds from really getting us, started. The green beans would, of course, grow up the faster growing and taller growing stalks of the corn, which would die off quicker too. So, you'd have, you could leave the stalks up and let the corn stalks act as a trellis anyway for the green beans. So anyhow, so a bunch more bell peppers here. I think I'm around 30 bell pepper plants, about 4 or 5 varieties, a few different colors, green, red, and then I'll be looking for a yellow one. I didn't find one yet. So down here, some more peppers, a couple basil here separating these peppers from I got a grape cherry tomato, again near the gate, so that the kids can come in and pick right from the tomato plant and eat those grape cherries up, so I don't spend all summer picking grape cherries. So that's why I only put one in, and these are just a very small early tomato, like an early bird tomato. So same concept, a little bit smaller, quicker. Kids can come in and eat them right off the plant. So I put these boxes in this year, some herb boxes, raised gardens, control the soil a little bit more with a sandy mix and a different thing. So I have dill, scallions, and my wife started all these. Roto carrots, which I'm excited about this year. Parsley, because of the sand mix, heavy sand mix with the carrots. I'm hoping I get some large, very nice looking carrots. Never been able to do that yet, but I've never tried the raised beds. So again, all the peppers over here around 30. We'll be getting into all my tomato plants down here, upper 20s, but in between those, a lot of basil. My mother-in-law likes to make pesto, so I grow lots of basil. I've had a lot of good success with basil in this garden. So A lot of basil down through here. A couple more. Oh, then I get into some banana peppers here. A few banana peppers, sweet banana peppers. I don't put any hot peppers in here anymore. I learned very early. I used to get hot and sweet peppers all through this garden, and then I was saying, you know, here's a sweet pepper, and people say, man, that was hot. And I was like, what's going on here? Here, if you mix hot and sweet, there can be a tendency that the sweet ones will get hot also. So keep that in mind if you're growing hot and sweet peppers next to each other. Sometimes the sweet ones will take on the spiciness. So now we're starting to get into the tomatoes down here. I'll put my slowest growing bigger tomatoes here at the back, the beefsteaks and the big boys. I'll give them the most room, close to 4.5, 5 feet from each other. I got a whole bunch of Romas, well, a couple Romas snuck in here. My wife started. My mother-in-law likes those, a lot of meat in them, more meaty type tomato. Then I get into some Mountain Majestics, good for our area, disease and insect resistant for this area. And just several, I usually go about 5 or 6 different varieties. And here's some more Romas my wife started. Okay, you'll notice every single plant I've learned to cage and stake, even the herbs, the basils and stuff that don't need it. I still do it just to create a barrier for people walking. And every plant staked. The tomato plants are double staked. My tomato plants will definitely usually get close to doubling the size of these 48-inch cages, and they have a tendency to double over. So the way I look at it, if they're taller than I can reach, that's okay. So I let them double over at that point, but I get 6 foot and 7 foot stakes, 2 stakes per cage, so they don't fall over in any wind or rainstorms. Single 3-foot cages for the peppers. Again, they don't really need it, but it helps form them. It gives me nice, tall, strong bell pepper plants, and then the walls seem to be pretty thick. So, last thing I'll point out inside here is the watering system. It's soaker hose. So I try to conserve water, not waste any, even though we're on well water out here. It's a drip soaker hose, just goes along the roots. Okay, and I put that on a timer. I'll show you the timer in a minute. Okay, so that's one thing I want to point out, just along the rows, so no waste. Doesn't even get the rows muddy at all, just right where the plants are. All right, and then as I'm leaving again, you'll see all the yellow electric fence parts. So I have a electric fence. Helps with the animals. We live in a rural area, 84 PA, so lots of deer, as you can imagine, turkey, raccoon, groundhogs, rabbits, you name it, fox, coyote, snakes, birds, we have it all, possums. So the animals get curious, opportunistic, right? And I can't blame them, so I don't want to kill all the animals, so I just prevent them from taking the human food. A little bit of electric fence on a timer. Again, my children, my nieces, their friends, they eat right from the garden, so I have only water, only grass clippings. You'll notice also the paper. By mid-June, I'll have the whole garden papered, and I bag my grass at my house, and I'll use the clippings to cover it. That cuts down on the weeding tremendously. So that's how I do that. And then the electric fence on a timer, just pulse. Simple electric fence system here. I put it on a timer, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. That way, while the kids and the pets are around, no worries, right? They can go in and out. Don't have to worry about them getting buzzed at all, getting scared of the garden, right? You don't want that. You want them to be the future gardeners, right? All right, so last thing here, I guess, is the water timer. So this is pretty awesome. I used to come down and water. When I first started doing this garden, I used to come down and water before work. It was very cumbersome. So here we go. These are great. So automatic timer, set your clock. Start time 5 a.m. I always do it in the morning right before the sun comes up. Right now we're in spring here. The ground's been pretty wet. It's getting hot, warmer, but which is good overnight warmth for the plants. But right now I have 75 minutes drip in the morning every day. And of course, if it rains, I'll come down and hit a 1-day delay, so conserve the water. And then every now and again, if it's hot and baking, throughout the day, and I see the ground getting dry, especially because I just planted the plants, I'll hit manual, and you can set more or less time, and that'll turn on just for that amount of time and not interrupt what you already have going on with your time setting. Late summer, I may, if there's less rain, if we're getting kind of drought-like and hotter days, I'll up the water. But then you got to watch the plants too. If the tomatoes start cracking, or if getting too many flowers and not enough peppers on the pepper plants, you just got to keep an eye on how you're doing your watering. So quick overview, I guess 10-11 minute tour of the garden. I guess I'll try. I wanted to get more videos as I was doing it, but I was too dirty and too busy. So here's the update. I'll try to keep you guys updated. You know, the proof is in the pudding, right? It can look garden can look great, but if it doesn't produce, that's what we judge it by, right? Judge it by the fruit it produces. So I'll keep us updated. Hopefully we'll have another good harvest season. All right, everybody, stay healthy. See you soon. Bye.